Welcome to the third, I think it's the third, right?
Oh.
Third live IndyCar Red Pill from our hotel room, well, my hotel room, but it's ours now. I've got some guests here. The first time on the Indy, and oh my God, who's talking?
It's going through your headphones.
Oh no.
How is it going through my headphones? Oh, it's okay. That's what it is. I was like, I hear it.
I was
and I
gonna
don't
say,
know why I hear it.
by the way, David.
That was very strange. Okay, sorry, I heard myself on that. Anyway, this is the first IndyCar Red Pill with guests. So we've got a couple guests here that we're going to introduce. For one, Mr. Kevin Rollins from the Dalecast on YouTube. If you've not heard the Dalecast, I am on the Dalecast, fourth episode and second episode where we talk for like 2 hours about sports car racing. Introduce yourself a little bit more than that.
Yeah, what's up? By the way, we only have one episode where it's called the Dalecast. The rest are just the Untitled Show where I just talk about racing. But yeah, it's great to be here. Great to be a guest on the Red Pill. And I was gonna say, it's not a good idea to ask me how many Red Pills you've done this month, because I don't watch your videos.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. I'm letting people on that don't actually watch my videos in real life, so that's going to be interesting. And we've also got an actual legitimate person. Reddit will love him because he actually writes legitimately. It's Christopher DeHarde from the Motorsports Tribune. Give yourself an introduction, sir.
So, Chris DeHarde, right from Motorsports Tribune, Noblesville Daily Times, a couple of other outlets here and there. I don't know who this guy is. He's just some guy that was just like, hey, you want to be on the Red Pill? I'm like, what the heck is a Red Pill? So,
well, I actually like him because he's very controversial. He's actually got a pretty controversial article right now about Indy Lights. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Indy Lights, there's only 7 cars running, or they only had 7 cars running at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course weekend, and I am a glutton for punishment. I read the internet comments, and I saw several things that just made me scratch my head and wonder, what the heck are these people thinking? So I was like, you know what? Let me bring some facts and figures here. So yeah, I wrote about the fact that Pro Mazda and USA 2000 had new cars, and they didn't have them for a while until after Indy Lights got a new car in 2015. And yeah, they definitely they definitely have had a bit of a struggle for car count. And yeah, some people were complaining. I was like, you know what? There's a reason for that. Pro Mazda didn't have a good field for a couple of years, and so now they have a really good field, and Indy Lights has to correct for that. I think, frankly, we're going to see a bigger car count in Indy Lights. I do a lot of Road to Indy stuff as well, so it's good to see, of course, budgets for a whole year. You could get 2 or 3 IndyCar races for that, so budgets need to come down, of course.
So there you go. As you can see, he knows his stuff, so that's one of the reasons we wanted to have him on today. But the real reason we're here today is to talk about the first day of official Indy 500 practice. Of course, earlier in the month we had the 3 days of testing. 2 of them were covered here on YouTube by the IndyCar.com team, and then a third one was a private manufacturer test. But this was the first official day of testing for the Indy 500. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, Elio Castroneves was the fastest, about 225 miles an hour.
Well, he was, let's see, look at the practice results here. Says right here, practice session 1 was actually Pagenaud. Elliot was at 223.
Yeah, Pagenaud.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because Pagenaud was the only one with like a super
toe. They split it up into 3 sessions. I'd forgotten about that. So do we have combined, or do we have?
Yes, we do. Well, we actually have combined 1 and 2. The third session, quote unquote, was the session in the middle of the day. That was just Zachary claiming DeMello, or as I once commented on Facebook, Zachary claiming deceit. Stephen Wilson, Oriol Servia, and James Davison. Now, if I remember right, Stephen Wilson actually did not finish up his veteran refresher. Clement DeMello did pass his rookie orientation. Servia passed his refresher, I believe, with like 15 minutes left in the day overall, and Davison passed his a while back. Yeah. So practice 1 and practice 2 are the ones that we have combined results here for, and Pagenaud was the quickest at 225 miles an hour, or 225.7. Funny enough, he was one of only 3 drivers that set their quickest lap time earlier in the day. The other 2 being Joseph Newgarden and Will Power. Ironically enough, all Penske cars. Shocking.
Well, yeah. That's because in practice 1 we had this train of Penske cars in the first session, and they literally went out to set a very fast time, and they did that very early on in the session. They did it before the little brief rain delay we had. We had a rain delay in each session, even though the second one, it didn't really rain.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the things that was very strange. I remember I was walking to the museum at this point. I was actually trying to get to turn one for happy hour, and it turned out they were all talking about how the world was going to end. And so we actually in the third session, which was the second full practice session, we had a 30-minute delay for impending weather, which Bob Jenkins, who's been going to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway since 1960, I believe, said it was the first time that's ever happened in the history. So that was very interesting.
They were erring on the side of caution there, because I was in the media center at the time, and I was looking out there, and it was not pretty.
No.
And when you looked at the camera looking from turn one all the way up the main straightaway, it was extremely dark outside. They didn't want to take any chances, and I applaud them for that. Especially with the fact that you got these brand new aero kits. Not everybody maybe has all the spare parts that they would have with the older aero kits. So I think it was a good move.
Yeah.
If you look at the radar, it was not.
No, it looked terrible.
I was in turn one with not only a IndyCar official, but also with all the spotters. Funny stories from there, but anyways.
Oh, we got a super chat. $50. Are you serious?
50.
Love your videos, man. Oh, okay, so this is from Riff Reaper 94. $50. I think I might have to buy these two a couple of things.
Hey, man. Do I get royalties?
Okay, so if super chats, if you want to super chat, I will cut them in on that because that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Riff Reaper 941. Holy S hit. It's David Land Live. Love your videos, bro.
Holy
Keep it up,
shit.
man. I did not use those words. Keep it up, man. Much love from San Antonio, Texas. Well, there's much love coming from Indianapolis. I was going to say Speedway, but we're not quite in Speedway. Much love to you guys out there in San Antonio. I'm blown away. What we're talking about?
Okay,
I was expecting like $1 super chat.
That was dinner for the three of us, I think.
Yeah, it was. Oh,
crap,
yeah.
I get reimbursed for dinner.
All right, well, we're gonna have to do that. Okay. Okay. So yeah. Well, when Rob gets out here, we'll do a red pill with him.
Okay.
But he's not here yet.
But anyways, in turn one, the IndyCar guys that just said it's not a smart idea to keep going because first off, these guys don't know much about these new cars. I mean, there's very few people that actually got proper time on the Speedway Aero Kit outside the testing a couple weeks ago. They didn't know like the wind picked up, it cooled off dramatically. The conditions changed within minutes. And they, as he said, they erred on the side of caution. And funny enough, as soon as they threw the red flag, it was really a yellow.
Yeah.
All the spotters packed up and they said it was done because they were looking at the radar and they said, that it's day done. But it moved off to the north a little bit. And funny enough, I actually got a call from somebody who I live nearby, and he said that it was getting hammered directly west about 10 minutes.
That's what they said in Brownsburg was getting hammered by weather. So I'm going to tell this story. There's a certain spotter for a certain team that's sponsored by a certain alcohol sponsor, and apparently he broke that certain sponsor out when they took the red flag because they thought it was done. But we're not going to throw anybody under the bus here.
Nobody else could get that certain sponsor's product because they aren't sponsored by that sponsor.
That's true. Well, there's not a lot of beverage companies in IndyCar anymore, so you can probably figure out who it is. But I want to bring up something because I think it's fairly interesting, or at least my observation, specifically from happy hour, but mostly from the day. We actually did see some traffic today. The big fact since the DW12 era has begun in 2012.
I counted at one point there was 22 cars on track at once during happy hour, and most of them were in a pack.
Yeah. Well, here's at least my observation on it, and chime in, you guys, after I'm done with this.
Hold on, I gotta throw this out there. David Lynn, are you gonna buy some Gucci with that $50?
No, I'm probably gonna buy these guys dinner now. Thanks a lot. But my observation from the pack racing. Well, I guess we can call it pack racing because that's essentially what it is. I'm gonna move the camera so that Chris doesn't get cut off. I feel like I keep cutting Chris off, but
not the first time.
So from the packs. It seems as though we're getting a little bit more of a have and have not situation in terms of the actual racing that we're going to see. Again, we're 3 days into this, but it feels like there's a distinct advantage to being at two teams, those being the Andretti Autosport, the driver there, and then the Penske team, the four-packer drivers there. Now, I feel as though, at least from day one, Andretti Autosport has the advantage. Even Stephen Wilson, who hasn't driven an Indy 2 years, was making pretty excellent passes. But what's interesting is, there we go, we got everybody back in.
Wow.
What's interesting is that it seems to me that both the Andretti team and the Penske team are the only cars on track that can actually run up underneath each other, kind of the way we've come to expect from the DW12 era. It looked very similar to what we've seen with the Aero kits and then the previous DW12 body kits before. But what I found particularly interesting was the fact that the cars behind them, probably about 6 cars look like they can run in a pack up front. But once you get to about 7, 8, 9 in that pack, they start all falling back and spreading out. So I think we're in for fairly, at least after day one. Of course, everything can change here because as people figure out the Aero kit, it's going to become. Hey, let's move that a little bit. There we go.
I think really the day that we'll really start to see what the race is going to look like is probably the Monday practice next week, where their qualifying's over with. We're going to see these guys really working on race trims, and they have a solid couple of hours to properly work on it. And the cars will, again, be more set up in race trims, and they'll be more focused on that instead of actually qualifying. And by then, they'd also have the cars pretty well figured out after this week of practice.
You're right, but at least from day one, my observations of how the cars are reacting, because that's been the big question coming in, right? Everybody said, it's kind of been like, oh, it's the new car, has been kind of the meme, but in some ways it really is a new car because it's so fundamentally different than what we've had in the past. It seems like
weight distribution's shifted quite a bit forward with the removal of the rear bumper pods. You also have less in front of the rear wheels, a lot less. Well, I think it was a lot less surface area than what you had in the previous kit. The engine covers are much more trimmed back. You don't have the humongous air boxes that you had. You have and the rear wing is just
It's the team literally call it the boomerang.
Yeah. It's very, very, very small. So you have to have a lot of different changes that you have to make in your setup this year compared to what you had last year. So
And
all that stuff you used last year, wasn't going to be worth a whole hill of beans this year.
I mean, funny thing to know about the rear wings, though, real fast.
they don't do a whole lot, apparently.
Well, all right. So in the past, it used to be just the main plane that actually moves, but it's actually the whole rear wing assembly, and it only goes back 4 or 5 degrees, which is still a decent margin in terms of downforce. But at the same time, though, that's not much compared to what we used to have.
Yeah. Well, Allister Jr., I heard on the radio this morning, he was on the Big Joe and I can't remember the other guy's name, show here in Indianapolis, and he was talking, actually the race downforce level is going to be very similar between this Aero kit and the Aero kits they were running last year. Now, Harding Racing, who Al Unser Jr. works for, was running a Chevy. That was really thought to have a little bit more downforce than the Honda. That's fairly interesting to me because, well, then again, you look at the Universal Aero Kit, and there's a lot of Chevy elements in there. The small rear wing, the air channel to the rear of the car. And
also the front wing.
Yes, the front wing and the end plates look very similar.
Yeah.
But my observation, outside of the fact that it looks like it's a 10-car race right now, as far as I'm concerned, I think the winner is going to come from the 6 cars of Andretti or the Penske, but also the fact that the closing distances between those cars, it really does feel like we're going to have maybe, I would say there's probably going to be a couple more teams that figure it out. It seemed like Schmidt and Ganassi were right there. I think we're going to have probably 15 cars that are really going to be fast, and the rest may be back markers. We may have a lot of lapping this year in terms or in contrast to years past, where it's really been much more of a pack race. Of course, that's also dependent on conditions. If we get another 2013 where the conditions are perfect, where the cars produce a lot of grip, we could have some leapfrog racing again. But if it's a hot day like it has been in the last, those cars are going to be slipping and sliding around, and the guys who have the handling correct And again, it looks like we're right back where we were last year, Penske and Andretti up at the front running for the win. So, but again, it's 10 cars between the teams, and I have a hard time feeling that it's going to be anybody but them. I mean, any thoughts on that one?
Also, keep in mind they have the most cars in terms of with each different car, and Andretti's already started. They were sending out Hunter Ray with different cars on the team's front wings. They started out with Marco in the first session, and I mean,
yeah, that front wing was not monogamous today. It got around.
Yeah,
it got around.
They can afford to switch body parts, excuse me. And of course, Penske's going to experiment with whatever they can. And I also seen that they were playing around with actually having a little wicker on the side pod.
Yep.
On the ramp.
There's a few things you can do to these cars. What I really noticed at the Grand Prix, and they had mentioned this, is the actual air inlets on the side pods. There are a ton of variations of custom pieces that are done to those air inlets, and some fairly creative designs as well. So that's kind of fun. If you do miss the aero kits, there are some custom parts on this car that you can look at. Another thing I noticed that I pointed out on Twitter was the fact that the Rahal team has copied what Andretti's been doing for the last 4 or 5 years with the wheels. They now have Champ Car style rims on the front, and they have the classic BBS wheels with the little aerodynamic piece in the middle of it on the rears. Andretti has been doing that since probably 2015, 2014, and we've seen the success level. So for whatever reason, the Rahal team has copied that. Now, Dale, I was told by my friend Steve earlier today that Dale Coyne used to do that, but from my memory, they only really did it on the road courses. I could be wrong on that one, but is that an advantage? That's something fairly interesting. So if we see the Rahal team finally suddenly show some real pace, and it's possible that Takuma Sato may have brought a little bit of information over to that team and said, "Hey,
he did."
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to say real fast, all the questions and stuff, say that for when we're done bantering about today. So just hold those, because I know there's probably some good questions.
We're going to leave it open for about a 10-minute discussion at the end with your questions.
Because I've seen some really good questions.
Oh, there's some good questions, yeah. So let's wrap it up. Let's talk about the slowest people today, because there are some drivers that didn't get out on the track. I believe there was 35 separate times set, but only 34 cars got out there, apparently. So
Jay Howard drove 61 laps in a Hinchcliffe's car, so that's... You see 35 cars in there, but there's only 34
Matthias
drivers.
Lice did not actually set a proper lap.
Okay, so
Matthias Lice never actually went out onto the track at all.
He did an install. He did an install
lap.
And I guess they pulled it back because they didn't want him to crash.
I have to go and say I spent probably the better portion of 45 minutes of the last hour near Conradale's pit stall trying to get a good shot of him leaving for the Nobleville Daily Times, and I actually got the shot and put it up on Instagram, which I think Tom Burns Racing actually put the photo up there. So Pippaman did 19 laps, Connor Daly did 9 laps, and they were the two slowest cars. They were the only cars that were actually in the 41-second bracket. Everybody else was at 40 seconds and above. Jay Howard,
and what's that translate to in speed, just for the viewers?
So a 41-second lap is like just around 219 miles an hour. When you go to 40 seconds exactly, you're at 225 miles an hour. So Kaiser was 32nd on the timesheet for Juncos. 33rd was Jay Howard in the number 5 car, but Jay Howard also was 4th on the timesheet in his own car.
Mm-hmm. And some people were surprised by that, and I point out that he led a day, I think it was maybe Wednesday or Thursday
I believe it was Wednesday last year. So there was one day that it was quite windy, very, very windy, then very few cars went out there. And walking into the garage area, I saw, you can't... I'm not Dale, I don't see the wear, but you could just feel the wind just gusting on you last year, so not a lot of people went out on that particular day, and Jay Howard was quickest.
But from what I remember, he still laid down a 228. I mean, that's a very respectable time. That would have put you mid-pack in last year's 500. I don't even think he found that speed on qualifying day.
I don't know, I still feel like he should have had more experience, but he kind of fell through the cracks, unfortunately, with the situation that he was in. But
he should have been in the 2010 race if Sarah Fisher hadn't pulled him out.
Oh,
so.
yeah. It's just like Paul Tracy.
Paul Tracy was that way as well.
Sorry, Sebastian.
So just a quick rundown. Who are the bottom 5 that are in their primary cars right now?
Bottom 5, you got Pippa, Connor, and I'm going from bottom to top.
So 34th is Pippa.
No, well, 30. Well, yeah,
34th.
Yeah, yeah. Because
in terms of drivers, 34th.
Like,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Pippa, Connor, Kaiser, Zachary, and then Chilton.
So that's kind of what we expected, though.
Carlin cars have been struggling, especially in first practice. They could not get those cars up to speed for the life.
Well, they did a lot of install laps, and again, it's a new team. This is the first time they've ever been on a super speed.
Well,
I'm going to give them.
They tested at IMS,
but it's. I mean, this is the first time it's game time, though.
Yeah.
I mean, this. I will give Carlin the benefit of the doubt.
Funny enough, you say that. Charlie Kimball was 8th.
Yeah. See, so look, I'm not as worried about that team as I was about 2 months ago. The funny thing is, there's a lot of memes going around about Chilton and Kimball that they suck. But at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they are both very not only serviceable drivers, but if cards had gone a different way in 2015, we'd be talking about Charlie Kimball, the Indy 500 winner. Last year, if Chilton had a little bit more experience, maybe a looser setup, because I suspect that the two front runners, Castroneves and Sato, probably took off a lot of downforce there towards the end.
Actually, Scott Dixon took off a lot of downforce.
Yeah, he took off a lot of downforce. But you think about it, and if Chilton had a little more experience, maybe he holds on to that lead, because it was notoriously hard to pass last year. That was one of the reasons Sato took the lead with 2 laps to go and never got it, never had relinquished it again. So I'm not as worried about Carlin as I would have been, a couple months ago. But if you think about the rest of that list, was Harvey down there?
Who?
Harvey, Jack Harvey.
Okay, I swear, you sounded like you just said Harvick.
No, not Harvey.
He was 27th.
27. So we're looking at right now, and of course this is after day one. We're looking at Dale Coyne Racing, kind of the people we'd expect to be back there.
Well, okay, the B team, the B team,
not for long though, because. With it being the very first,
well, I'm not worried about Connor so much, but Clayman DeMello and Pippa, everybody's been.
Here's the thing with Connor's car. Connor's car was actually the car that Clayman DeMello ran 12th with at the Grand Prix.
That's right.
They were supposed to get that car 2 weeks ago.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's what Tom Burns told me after the session was over. Like, yeah, we're supposed to get the car 2 weeks ago, but we we got it all turned around. There's all little things you got to find. We're gonna see other things tomorrow, but we'll be all right. That's what he told me anyway.
Well, again, Connor's a very serviceable driver. He's got the experience, and I think, really, honestly, if Bourdais finds a setup, you slap that on all 4 cars. They'll probably all 4 make the show. So it's gonna be set. And this is the thing, Juncos. Man, I'm worried about Juncos. They were not fast last year with two drivers doing development work. Now you've got a rookie in there, Kyle Kaiser, and this is nothing against Kyle Kaiser. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be so difficult for him to get into the show.
Kaiser, the good thing about Kaiser though is that he's not gonna take any unnecessary risks. Mm-hmm. He won the Indy Lights title last year by being the most consistent driver. He won a few races here and there. He waited for others to make their own mistakes. The same kind of way that Santi won the Pro Mazda title in 15. He didn't take unnecessary risks. He just let other people make mistakes. Yep. Santi that year in Pro Mazda won I think 2 or 3 races, and other people had more wins. Warrentin had 4 wins, but he had a lot more retirements. Mm-hmm. When other people make mistakes and you capitalize, that's how you win championships. And that's what happened with Kaiser. He didn't take unnecessary risks. Except trying to pass Pedro Hita at Mid Ohio. Mm-hmm. That was a bad weekend, but he never retired from the races. He kept everything on track, and that's how he won. And he's not gonna do anything stupid here.
So let's assume Kaiser gets in. Let's talk about 30th through 25th. Just name those people real quick. We'll kind of leave it at that.
Where did I stop?
You stopped at Clayman DeMello.
Yeah.
No.
Well, so Chilton. Yeah. So Chilton, Kanaan, Harvey.
Kanaan.
Yeah.
Oh my!
He only did a couple laps though.
He did 12 laps.
Okay.
Then you got Jack Harvey, who actually did the most laps of any driver in one car.
That makes me a little bit nervous.
With 107 laps. The next with 106 laps was H. Karen, but he was in 7th place. So Jack Harvey, and then Graham Rahal, and then James Hinchcliffe, and then Jerry Hildebrand above that. That's number 25 on this sheet right here.
Okay.
And then 24th is Rossi. I think that's a little notable.
I believe that's notable, yeah. But it seemed like Rossi was... I mean, I'm not making excuses just because I'm wearing a Rossi hat, but it felt like he was in traffic virtually the entire day.
He had a couple laps out in front of the Armada.
Yeah, but that's like race conditions. Like, you're not going to run very fast in that.
Okay, so the Harvey thing...
Harvey is one I pegged early on.
Well, the Schmidt-Peterson guys did not look like they were up to speed.
Except for Howard.
Well... Where's Wickens at on there?
Wickens was fast today.
16th.
So
that's
they're all midfield, and that's 4 cars.
But midfield is all you need.
And note, these are the combined results of both sessions.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're looking at just the second session or we're just looking at the first session. No, we're looking at the combined results of both sessions here.
I want to throw this point in there. The conditions changed dramatically today. Twice.
Yeah.
In the middle of each session, the conditions changed dramatically. And also, I've read some comments about Pippa, man. That car was brand new, actually. And
She's got a new chassis?
Yeah, she does.
Oh, God almighty.
They delivered it on Saturday, and they got ready. And Coin took delivery of 2 chassis this weekend.
Yeah, so here's the thing that I wanted to point out real quick before we kind of wrap it all up, is that there's a ton of spare cars in Gasoline Alley, more than I have seen ever since I've been in the garage area since 2013. If they could have gotten engine leases for all the cars, we could have 40, 41, 42 entries.
And have a proper bump day.
Yeah, well, we're still going to have a proper. I think this is going to be really intense.
I know, but we're talking like mid-2000 style bump day where you have guys backed up in the fast lane ready to go.
I'm just saying.
Don't bother asking me to make a prediction right now.
No, I don't think. Listening to that list, I can't pick necessarily. I think Harvey and Kaiser would be my 2. And they've been my 2 since we kind of heard about the entry list, I would say. But
I think Harvey makes it. Schmidt Peterson usually has really good cars in the 5.
But you look at that list, and you look at this entire 35-car grid right now, and you can't really look. You can't really say gimmies right now.
Danica is.
Yeah, that was the question.
So there's a lot of people saying
20th.
Danica.
Not happening.
Pretty solid.
So
she's got a solid team.
So Danica's driving for Ed Carpenter's team. So Ed was actually 3rd on the timesheet today. Spencer Pickett was 12th.
But, so I want to throw this point out there. They're not ready to trim Danica out like they have a little bit of Ed and Pickett, because those guys have been in cars the last number of years. Danica has not been in a car for 7 years until the test. So, David, your face is making me about to laugh. But anyways.
I was reading the chat, sorry.
Anyways, Danica, you don't have to worry about her. She's going to be very solid in there. If she makes the top 9, it's going to be a little iffy, but she'll be solidly in the field.
Yeah, and this is the other thing, is that when Danica, now I of course tweeted out, been kind of assholey, let's be fair, that she stalled on her way out. They've actually repaved the pit lane, so there's a ton of grip there. Someone without prior IndyCar knowledge, from the last 7 years, would probably stall it. There were Graham Rahal almost stalled. So, but she went out, ran in the pack. She didn't make any moves, but I don't think that was expected of her today. Fernando Alonso didn't make any moves, on day 1 last year. So, I think some of the Danica hype that, oh God, she's going to miss it, I think that's absolute garbage. In fact, I think both of the women are going to get into this thing, as far as I'm concerned. They're both with, even if you don't think of them very highly as drivers, they're serviceable enough that they've got some very experienced teammates who know how to set the cars up to go 231 miles an hour. Both Ed Carpenter and Sebastian Bourdais were over 231 last year. So, I think they're both going to be in. I think that's not even a question.
Well, Pippa is a lot closer to the chopping block than Danica.
And she always is. She's always qualified around 20, like row 10.
Yeah.
But I think that's where she'll be this year.
And again, don't be worried about how she performed today, because remember, she just took delivery of a brand new car. It's the first time that it's been properly on the track. So listen, I'm not I'm not a Pippa fan by any stretch of the imagination. I actually dislike her. I'm gonna make my feelings known about that. But I have confidence that she'll do better than she showed today, because again, it's a new car, and I'm giving her the benefit of a doubt.
All right, so unless you guys have got any other observations, let's open it up for the chat.
There were 2,066 laps turned today, which is just over 50. I think it's like 5,165 miles.
Oh, that's a lot, and we're on only 1 day in.
And that's with 2 red flags.
Yeah, with 2 red flags, so there could have been a lot more running today. Again, with 35 cars, we're going to have a lot of miles turned.
And I want to throw out the 19-car situation. DeMello, I was actually with DeMello when he found out.
That car looks like one that's going to get bumped, though.
Yeah.
That has got a terrible paint scheme.
Okay, so I was with DeMello when he found out, and he did not know until Coyne told him to go get his stuff. Which is kind of,
that's the most Dale Coyne
thing ever.
That's the most Dale Coyne thing ever.
So DeMello is...
From CBD to CCD.
Yes. Okay, so what have we got in the chat for questions?
So
yeah, we're opened up now. Where will Dixon qualify?
Top 9. He will be probably in the middle of row 2.
I'll say fast 9 as well.
Where do you think Connor Daly will qualify? Probably row 9 or 10.
Yeah, I would say he's probably going to be in the back 3 rows. But I think he will qualify as well. I guess I didn't answer the Dixon. I think Dixon will be on the front row.
Why don't they use full boost and just?
Yeah, here's something that grinds my gears. Why give them extra boost in the first place just for like a couple arbitrary days? As far as I'm concerned, I think
That's why they call it Fast Friday.
they should have one boost level for the entire time.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go to my phone.
We know that last year, or no 2012, when they introduced the DW12, that they tried to keep from embarrassing themselves by going like 10 miles an hour slower than they did the year before, so they did a reasonable 225 mile an hour pulse speed with up boost. There's no reason anymore to do up boost. They can run 230 miles an hour trimmed out with the regular boost. So I mean, either give them all the power all the time, or just set the boost level.
Okay, here's a good one. What's the problem with the LED panels?
They had some electrical issue, and
they were setting the cars on fire. I heard.
Lit.
Literally.
Fire emoji.
Also, I would prefer to, again, this is Dave's thing, but I prefer if you don't ask us where specific drivers will qualify in our opinions.
Well, yeah, it's just, I mean, if we wanted to do that, we'd just list the 35 and just talk about it.
How are the Foyt cars doing? They barely turned any laps.
Yeah.
Well, not Davison.
Yeah, well, Davidson
Was pounding around, and you know what? Davison has not missed a step. He looked very fast today.
Davison, let me find him on here. 13th.
Yeah, he looked very confident, very fast. The only thing I would say, Bird Brothers or Bilardi or Foyt, if you're watching this, put white letters on the car. God almighty, I can't read the damn car when it goes by because it's got black letters on dark red.
This is about IndyCar, not Formula One. That's another topic for another video.
Well, we can answer Formula One questions, but this is an IndyCar.
Yeah, this is IndyCar themed.
If it's an important enough IndyCar F1 question or if it's relevant to IndyCar, we can talk about it. But
Caveman DeMello, we call him Clam Chowder DeMarshmallow, by the way, and Kaiser will be in trouble come qualifying. I believe that's a true statement.
I agree. I think he's going to be one of the guys that's running to the gun. But again, this is the surprising thing about Bump Day is that you don't know. You don't know who's going to be, and this is why I've been banging the drum. And to the IMS's credit, they've been banging the drum too. Everybody wants to see Bump Day because it's part of the Indianapolis 500. You qualify on merit at the Indianapolis 500. It's the last race you do.
Okay.
The last big race, of course.
Outside of the Andretti Armada and Penske Powerhouse, do you think there will be any surprise winners like Rossi?
Let me think about it. Wickens is a great choice.
Here's the thing. I got to talk to Wickens this morning before he even got out there, and I asked him how he felt on ovals because he's a road course guy.
Yeah.
And I asked him if he felt really confident. And he said, "Oh yeah," and he did very solidly today.
I would say from that group Bourdais as well. I would think Bourdais. I think that would be a big story.
I don't think Bourdais would be a surprise winner because we all know how
he's a surprise. The question was specifically aside from the Penske's and Ganassis or Penske's and Andretti's.
But I mean, like Bourdais, we all know how fast he can be, and we all know. Last year, pole day for me kind of told me that hey, Dale Quinn, by hiring Bourdais and having Craig Hampson and Olivier Boisson there. They know what they're doing on a super speedway.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider them to be a surprise winner. The same way I would consider someone like, let's say, let me. I'm trying. I don't want to pick someone to like. I don't know. Carlos Munoz would do it.
He's a part of the Andretti though. That's not the question, man.
Yeah, I know.
See, here's the thing. I actually, Stephen Wilson looked really good today. Like really good. And I was actually surprised, but
Servia would be or Ed Jones actually.
Servia or Ed Jones, I agree with those.
I think the thing about Ed Jones is like he finished third last year with a damaged car for Dale Coyne Racing. I think him at Ganassi. I think a lot of people are overlooking him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I saw a question about pole speed. This is a real easy one. So, Chris, pole speed.
Quick.
Somewhere between 200 and 240.
I'll say 231. How about somebody gives a real answer? 231.
Okay.
All right, cool. All right, I'll say 233.
Okay, well, faster. I think it's going to be slower than last year. They were 2 miles an hour slower today than they were last year, so I think it's going to be about 2 miles an hour slower.
All right, I'm just going through comments. Someone asked David to do more NASCAR Authentics videos.
After May, no more NASCAR for the month of May.
What do you guys think of Connor Daly making a NASCAR appearance at Road America?
Cool.
It's going to be interesting. I know a lot of the IndyCar guys have wanted to do that race. I like to see the crossover. Yeah. I always do.
I love seeing, at a track that he's won at before. He won there in Skip Barber. He won there in at when it was called Star Mazda. He has experience there. He knows the track layout. He's raced there in prototype challenge cars. Would have won there in prototype challenge, I think, except that I think he spun with like a couple laps to go. He knows his way around there. I think he's going to have a good showing there. He's driven a lot of laps.
Okay, here's one. Will McLaren start their own IndyCar team and be a second manufacturer or just partner with Andretti Autosport?
So there's a couple ways this could go. I think absolutely they're going to be here next year. I think Fernando Alonso is going to drive for them. Whether they partner with Andretti or Rahal, were the two rumored teams, right, is going to be a question. It's really going to be dependent on who Fernando wants to work with more, like the team, some of the teammates he worked, like Rossi, or does he want to work with Sato? I would say that we did hear that IndyCar was open to more chassis manufacturers. They need to have a third engine supplier, though. So let's say Alfa Romeo does come in, like has been rumored for 5 years already. Let's say they finally bite the bullet in 2020, so we could, or 2021, I should say.
Avenge their
the 1990s debacle.
Yeah. Although I think Sullivan got them a top 10 once or twice. Maybe Guerrero. I had to take.
Sullivan blew his engine and got 9th in 91.
Okay.
But I will say, but real quick. I think McLaren will be here. Probably a team partnership for next year and looking to the future, 2020, 2021. I know that McLaren wants to build their own stuff. They've been very clear about that. So you'd kind of hope that they would be building their own chassis. I know people will talk about cost. They will talk about the aero kit debacle. I think if you do what IMSA does, and I think that's what IndyCar wants to do, and be very restrictive on what they can do aerodynamically, I think you can do multiple chassis. DeHarde is not the only company in the world that can build a safe car. I'm sorry.
Just got the results right here, by the way. Well, last time that Alfa Romeo was in IndyCar, they actually got 3 top 5 finishes. Guerrero at Michigan at 90, and then Sullivan at Service Paradise got 4th place and 5th at Milwaukee.
Okay.
So I will say that I think all 3 of those races are attrition, especially 90 Michigan. But
yeah.
So I want to throw in my 2 cents about the McLaren and IndyCar.
I guess they lasted. They didn't blow up.
Okay, so
sack of potatoes. Shout out to Chris Cook.
Yeah, he's in here. I've seen him. I've seen NASCAR Nixon. I've seen some big names. So shout out to all you people who are should be making amazing content, but you're watching this terrible content.
Okay, so in terms of that, my prediction is if Fernando Alonso wins the 500, he's most definitely coming back next year. I think.
You mean Le Mans?
Yeah. What did I say?
You said 500.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
And he will win.
You try your best.
By the way, if Fernando's car lasts, he's absolutely winning Le Mans because they're pulling every car out of the way for him.
Okay, so I'm now pulling a Bob Varsha and screwing up on the simplest things. But anyways, if he wins at Le Mans, which he most certainly will, the way things look.
Yep.
I'm not gonna get into that.
It's rigged.
It's really
it's rigged like Hillary.
Okay, shut up, Donald. I was trying to explain this point on the Rain Race podcast. By the way,
shout out to the Rain Race podcast.
Yeah, which I'm a part of. I just did a crossover today.
I sometimes come on there, so you should watch it.
I did a crossover. Anyways, so if he wins Le Mans, most certainly he's going to do the Indy 500, let alone the whole season, because he's stated that if the McLaren cannot produce results, he doesn't want to be there. And I don't think there's anywhere really else for him to go in Formula One. And he's done everything there is to do in Formula One. So I think if he wins Le Mans, he's certainly
The podcast was Rain Race, the Rain Race podcast.
But if he doesn't, I'm going to make a bold prediction. Lando Norris in IndyCar.
Yeah, I listened to that podcast last night.
I actually have watched Formula 2. I can't believe I'm watching it. And he's been really good.
Ultimately, the point is they want to. I think these F1 teams have too many development drivers. They don't have any place for them. IndyCar is a great place to put development drivers. There was actually a rumor a couple of years ago that McLaren was going to put Kevin Magnussen in an Andretti Autosport car. This was before the Alonso thing.
That's what I heard.
So they want to get some development drivers at a top level to be able to hone their craft. So whether that's WEC, WEC, or IndyCar, I think some F1 teams are going to be doing that in the future.
I have a shout out to Joey from SIK.
I love Joey.
Yeah, Joey, you're awesome. So shout out to you.
Thanks for giving me the good cart today so I could beat Stingray Rob. Appreciate it.
Thanks for giving me a good cart in the first race and a shit cart in the second.
I had a You're not supposed to swear on here. I had a bad card in the...
Oh, shit, sorry.
Again!
Oh, no.
Another
Demonetized.
One. Another one.
It's okay, we got a $50 super chat, so I think we're all right.
Another one. So I had a bad card in the first half of the second race, and I got a really nice one in the second half.
You know, we're bitching about our karting.
Shout out to Dixon.
This is not a karting show.
Okay, anyways.
Hey, Rob Howden.
Okay, so.
Oh, Rob Howden's in here?
No, I'm just saying that just in case.
But I say that's like two or three IndyCar people that watch, or IndyCar radio people that watch. Good Lord.
I'm just saying, like, if Casey ever said, "Oh, yeah, I'll talk about karting," well.
Okay, so Michael Cross said, I believe that's how I say your name. He said Alonso looked hollow on the podium spot because it was a hollow victory because it was heavily handed to him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, just saying.
Yep.
Oh wait,
we're talking about WEC again.
I would have seen it if they wouldn't have geo-blocked the app.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's let me tie it into IndyCar real quick. Can't wait for NBC Gold next year. You poor international viewers, I'm so sorry for you.
And
I know.
What's also bad is, like, if you're looking at all the different Pro Mazda, USF, and Indy Lights stuff, now you don't know what's going to happen with all that next year. In my opinion, that's going to be one of the bigger questions that has to be asked, is what's going to happen with all the stuff that's already out there.
Yeah.
Is it going to go away or what?
Put it on YouTube. You know what? Here's the thing. This is the thing I've said for a long time, is that IndyCar needs to really step up their YouTube game, especially because F1 has taken the reins off, and they have really stepped ahead. And here's the other thing, is that F1 didn't even need it because the WTF1 channel was taken off. So they've got this. F1 essentially has two channels promoting them on YouTube that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I think F1's at 1 million now.
IndyCar had a great YouTube presence with a very close friend of mine, but unfortunately his channel got 2 copyright strikes.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
Who
was that guy again?
So
there's some guy in the chat.
Here's one.
Saying that he would have wiped the floor with us at SIK.
It's funny because the people who actually made the stuff were like retweeting and going, "Hey, that's cool. Thanks for putting that up." And then IndyCar's like, "Nope, bye."
Okay, so
Josette says a stabilizer. We're getting that. Best Buy's closed.
What's
Josette.
the next title sponsor of IndyCar?
It sounds like it's going to be Verizon. It sounds like they're going to try to get NBC.
They're going to try to get them back on because of NBC getting the rights. I hope it happens. I really do. I've gotten so used to typing in Verizon IndyCar series. I'm like, great, I got to type a new sponsor name. So I hope it's Verizon. I hope they stay with it. Verizon, in my opinion, has a great deal going on right now with IndyCar, and I hope they continue.
And I saw somebody ask if Verizon would stay with Penske. I believe they are staying with Penske.
Well, more specifically, they're staying with Willpower at the least.
Well, that's also why we haven't seen a lot of IndyCar bad-mouthing of Verizon, because they're still going to be in the series, which is better than you can say about IZOD or PP. Well, PPG's still there. Who's another title sponsor? Like FedEx? Northern Lights. That's still around, by the way. They sponsor a Trans Am car.
I've seen this comment a couple times. What's the difference between Indy cars and Formula One cars, David?
Let's say
IndyCar's a lot simpler.
Yeah, a simpler design, a stronger chassis,
more cost effective.
A lot
more cost effective.
Cost effective, much more spec. Significantly less stuff that the individual teams can do.
Oh, and there's a lot more accessibility.
Exclusively road racing. A car designed exclusively for road racing.
Yeah.
Indy cars are very versatile racing cars, and pretty much that's it. Pornhub IndyCar series, I would love that. I think, well, then again, it probably wouldn't be politically correct, would it? Oh well. It would get a lot of attention. Oh, that's sure.
The puns would be all over the place.
We'd have Stormy Daniels waving the green flag.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there. We don't need to go there.
As another podcast would say, sin bin.
Okay, so I've got a question here that says, would you like to see the Verizon IndyCar series on more 1.5 mile ovals?
Yes.
Maybe 1 or 2 more.
I agree.
Because you have
risers.
Yeah, so you have 2.5 mile ovals. You got Indy and you got Pocono. Sorry, I was thinking about Phoenix. You have the short tracks. You have Phoenix and you have Iowa, and then you have Gateway's 1.25 miles.
But it still drives like a short track.
It drives like a short track, but it's not a short track.
Okay.
1.25 miles, and you have Texas at 1.5. I think you should have another 1.5 miler there.
So what would you do?
Chicagoland. But here's the thing. I'm very good at spending other people's money.
Yeah.
We all are.
Well, honestly, I'm kind of worried about Chicagoland. If they sell NASCAR, I think that's the first track to go. I think it's the first track to go. I would probably say Homestead as a season finale, or even like Kentucky. Well, Michigan's a 2 mile.
Well, yeah.
I've been beating the drum for Michigan for
okay, well, so a friend of mine actually had an interesting perspective. Memorial Day weekend was one of the main traditions about the Indy 500 is that it was on a national holiday weekend. So with a lot of people wanting Fontana back, why not have like a 500 miler in Fontana on President's Day to like start the season off?
Yeah, well, that's what I've said about Sonoma too. Why don't they run Sonoma in the spring? There's a big gap between
It's
St.
green.
Pete.
It's all the
Yeah,
all
it looks
the,
beautiful.
It does.
It would be a spectacular.
It's really weird because like a lot of all the NASCAR footage that you've seen for like the last like 20, 25 years has been Sonoma with brown drab grass on the side. When some of the NASCAR's footage that I've seen from Sonoma like in the early '90s, it's actually green grass, and you're like, when the hell did they race there at that time?
Shout out to the ex-hamster Pro Mazda series.
Well, wait. I don't think they can sponsor that because most of the guys aren't of legal age to watch.
Oh,
the
that's
content.
right. It would be like Marlboro with kicking Kyle Busch out of a race in the
Yeah.
90s.
Exactly.
You don't want.
Hill in USA 2000, Kalen Frederick's only 15 years old.
Yeah, you don't want.
Yeah, no booze,
porn
no
companies,
porn, no ciggies for the 15-year-olds.
Even though Helly was able to get away with running Marlboro Orange on his car.
Well, they can run Marlboro Orange. They just can't
It's
run
on
the
their
chevrons.
logos still too.
They just can't run the chevrons. Except unless it's the IMSA car and they have them reversed on the front of the DPI.
So I want to talk about the Red Bull since I've seen that pop up a few times. They were going to sponsor an IndyCar team because Brendan Hartley was originally set to be in the.
Well, they
car.
probably would have been on his helmet. They probably wouldn't have been on the car very
They
much.
might have been on. The
It would have
car.
been like Buddy Rice. It would have been on the helmet, and that would have been it.
I don't think so. I think it would have been on the car, because after he actually was successful in sports cars, they wanted him.
I would
to go
love
to
the
IndyCar.
Kmart IndyCar series, but I don't think they even have enough to sponsor the friggin'.
They don't even have enough to keep their own stores open.
Yeah. So let's do a couple more questions and then let's wrap it up. So come up with some good questions. We'll answer one more here before we kind of do the last couple questions here.
Why does Indy Lights not work like the Xfinity Series does? Was a question I happened to see.
Oh, that's a good. Go ahead and answer that,
Lights
Mr.
doesn't
Indy.
have.
Well, there's no bushwhacking.
So there's several things that I find about Indy Lights that's really interesting. Well, first of all, with any kind of stock car, one thing that I noted of a couple of friends of mine a few years ago is that if I had the wherewithal, I could go out there and actually make an Xfinity car with a few friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
You have to buy all the parts from a supplier for Indy Lights, Pro Mazda, and USA 2000. Another thing is you got Indy Lights drivers that are drivers that are coming out to Indy Lights. Where are they going to come from? Pro Mazda the last few years has not had that good of a field. They had like 14 or 15 cars in 2015, and then that was the first year they had the Indy Lights car, the IL-15. Then the next couple of years, the Pro Mazda field went down significantly with the closing of Andretti Autosport's Pro Mazda team, and I think another team went part way. I mentioned in the article that I did for Motorsports Tribune, they had a lot of cars that just went away. Now, for 2017's Pro Mazda Championship, only one driver made the move to Indy Lights, and that was Victor Franzoni. He won the Mazda Speed Scholarship. And in my opinion, it should have been him and Anthony Martin that moved up, but Anthony Martin was in a case where if he didn't
He was in
have
Australia, was he?
Yeah, he's from Australia. If he didn't have the scholarship, he wouldn't have been moving up. And he's in Australia right now trying to make the money to go back for another year or for a year in Indy Lights. But when you have only one driver moving up from Pro Mazda to Indy Lights, and when you have all these guys from Indy Lights that are moving up to IndyCar, there's going to be a squeeze for a year in Indy Lights.
Yep.
So that's why Indy Lights is having so much trouble right now. You're going to Pro Mazda right now has a 16-car field. Only 15 cars raced at Indianapolis because I think it was Rafael Martins had an incident in testing, and it was too much damage for them to recover for the IndyCar Grand Prix weekend. But that's the most, and that's 16 cars, 15 of them are looking at drivers that are moving up. You have Charles Finelli, who's a gentleman driver from New York, who's an attorney, who finished 7th, by the way, in the second race of the weekend. But there were, there are a lot of cars that it is, but still, good performance for him. But you have a very, very large field in Pro Mazda, probably the most talented Pro Mazda field I've seen in quite a while. You've got Oliver Askew, you've got Parker Thompson, Renus VK, Robert McGinnis, David Malukas, Stingray Robb, which is his real name.
And I went faster than him in SIK today.
Yeah.
And me too.
And he did. We both did.
And we were really close to each other too.
Yeah. We were the two top times of the week so far.
So you've got all these top drivers running in Pro Mazda. You've got a very, very close field, and you're going to see a couple of those guys, if they can get the budget, go to Indy Lights. And it's going to, if you can get like 3 or 4 of those guys in Indy Lights, you're going to see a really stacked field. Think about this. 6 drivers in USF 2000 last year made the jump to Pro Mazda this year.
Yeah.
It's the same tub as the USF 2000 car, the same exact tub. You just got to change up the engine, gearbox, add an extra flap on each side of the front wing, engine cover, roll bar, and a different rear wing. I think there might be 1 or 2 other different pieces.
Which makes me wonder why in the first place they even kept Pro Mazda around. Why did they just do a US either. Why didn't they merge the two if they're just going to make them all buy the same chassis?
So, well, the thing is that you got quite a big horsepower difference. You go from like 170 or so in the USF 2000 car, add another 100 horsepower, and you go to Pro Mazda. Then you have, much more aerodynamic grip. The rear tires of the USF 2000 car become the front tires of the Pro Mazda car. So you have a lot more, tire surface area on the track as well. It's an entirely different beast to drive. The USF 2000 car last year and the Pro Mazda car ran very similar lap times. The Pro Mazda car was only maybe a second or so quicker than the USF car. The Pro Mazda car this year is 3 to 4 seconds a lap faster than the USF 2000 car, than the Pro Mazda car from last year. Mm-hmm. It's a massive increase, and it's a lot more fun to drive from a lot of drivers that I've heard. The older Pro Mazda car also, the reason why you didn't see a lot of Pro Mazda guys,
It was old as balls.
2004 was the design, and it really wasn't as good of a car to get to Indy Lights as the current.
Wasn't enough transfer between the two.
And it drives a lot better, from what I've heard.
So, real quick summary. Chris, obviously very up to date on the road to Indy. I think the specific question was like the comparison between Xfinity and Indy Lights, and I think I can,
where names are made.
Well, here's what I can say is there's two main things why you don't see very big grids in the Indy Lights. It's because it's a trickier formula. Yes. So there's not only drivers moving up, there's teams.
Yes.
It also doesn't have a TV deal, so you don't have washed-up IndyCar drivers
not a live
or
TV
bushwhack.
deal. You have you have some of the races that are broadcast on NBC Sports like a day or two after. The Freedom 100 is broadcast live on NBC Sports.
But it's not a big enough event, and it should be, but it's not, to gain full season true sponsors. And this may be controversial to say, but ultimately it's really just 8 to 10 rich kids a year. Now we're going to see them move up, like you said, from Pro Mazda. There's a 24 car field in both Pro Mazda and USF 2000.
16 in Pro Mazda.
16 in Pro Mazda. Okay.
23 cars were sold for Pro Mazda.
Okay. Well, so the cars are out there.
The cars are out there, but they don't have enough people to take the rides.
And here's the thing: as IndyCar goes up, the feeder series will too. You guys saw that in NASCAR in the mid 2000s. We'll see it again. We'll see it here probably with IndyCar as well. I saw another question, and let's leave it at this. For tonight, engine formula. What do you guys want to see? We'll start with you.
150 more horsepower.
That's it.
Doesn't matter if it's inline 4, V6, V8. I don't care. 150 more horsepower.
Kevin.
I think that I kind of agree with him, actually. I think that...
Cool. David, agree with us and let's keep going.
Yeah.
Well, I would agree on the horsepower figures. The dream scenario would be kind of a Formula Libre, at least with the engine formula, that you don't restrict it to a twin turbocharged V6 at 1.6 liters or whatever it is. I would want whatever you want to build that comes in at the horsepower limit, build it. If you want to stroke out if you want to bring a 12 cylinder engine that makes 700 horsepower, do it. If you can fit it in the back of a GV12, do it. But I think less or more realistic than that. I'd like to see V8s back. I'd like the sound. But ultimately, I think it's going to be V6s again. At the very least, raise the rev limit, make them scream again. I really want some Indy cars that scream. I can't get into this engine sound right now. It's just they kind of sound like Offenhausers, but they still don't sound as cool as Offenhausers.
The person that you just heard clicking the like button was John Menard. No.
Yeah. Well, John Menard has a V12 that he supplied the Super Formula series. They built V12s for Super Formula. John Menard. So it was a Panos with a V12 built by Menard. So it was a totally American car that never raced in America.
By the way,
fun fact.
I want to say something about the spoiled rich kids and Indy Lights. Reba could not save Shelby Blackstock.
Yeah, what happened to Shelby Blackstock? He was running for Pelfrey, and now he's not.
I will say this though: the whole spoiled rich kid thing.
I didn't say spoiled. I would like to point that. I did not use that word.
You said, I didn't. I thought that's
you said spoiled.
Okay, rich kid.
So not everybody that races out there is a rich kid. Victor Franzoni, if he did not have the Mazda Speed scholarship, he would not be moving to Indy Lights right now.
Okay. So you have 7 rich kids and 1 person on a scholarship.
Actually, you only have like 6 and then the one on the scholarship. Yep. But the prize money disparity. Victor Franzoni, when he won the Indy Lights Championship, got a check for $790,300. Guess what? Guess how much money Anthony Martin got for winning second place in the Pro Mazda Championship?
$2,000.
$5,000.
$25,000.
Oh well, I mean, but that's not anything.
$790,000. $25,000.
That's not even a go-kart budget. $25,000. Not even a go-kart budget.
Think about this. Santi's finished second twice in the Indy Lights Championship. $1.1 million to like I think $25,000 or $50,000.
But that's what happens when you have to put a prize up that can actually get someone to the next level.
Yep.
I mean, it's a catch-22, and again, it's gonna be solved by exposure and by IndyCar rising the tide. So I think we're going to end it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. There's 105 people watching right now, and I've seen it peak at like 120, almost 150. So if you have enjoyed this live stream, almost an hour, it goes much longer when I've got more people to talk to. Maybe we'll find some more people to talk to throughout the month. Maybe we'll bring these back. Slap the like button.
Oh, me, I'll probably be back.
Yeah, Kevin will probably be back. Chris might probably, I'd say you'll be back. We'll be seeing each other. So, but I'll try to mix it up as well, get some different people in here, some different perspective, because that's, I think, what you guys want to see. So, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. If you enjoy the IndyCar Red Pill, if you enjoy Indy 500 month, and if you enjoy motorsports content, you're in the right place. And if you made it to the end of this video or live stream, whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching it taped, you probably should subscribe because this is the kind of content we like to produce. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you.
Can I do my normal
Not
outro?
at the mill.
Not at the mill.
All right. Thank you guys for watching, and peace out.
And we'll see you in the next video, too. Something like that. Come on. Stop.